The recording now. Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for that introduction again. My name is Colleen Harless, and I'll be talking about social media in the classroom and also beyond. So, like Bree said, I'm the governor's summer intern for the youth initiatives team here at DWD with the state. I just finished my sophomore year at George Washington University, where I'm studying political science and then human services. So this summer, I'm really looking forward to connecting with the JAG community and specialists like yourself, and then just learning more in general about programs that benefit Hoosier youth. And then in my free time, I do like to run, thrift, spend time with friends, and then binge the latest TV show. So just a little bit about me before we get started.
What are you currently watching, Colleen? That's important to know.
What am I currently watching? I'm a big reality TV fan, so I'm watching Shaws of Sunset, if anyone's heard of that. Kind of a guilty pleasure, but I do enjoy it. So now I just wanted to start with a little brief interactive poll. If you could just type in the chat what your favorite social media platform is for the classroom. Can't monitor the chat right now, but I see Twitter, good, okay.
Yeah,
so there's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or another one that I didn't put up here, but just kind of what you prefer to use to engage with your students in the community.
Phil says still Facebook, even though students have moved past it. Lots of that. We're all too old for the students.
So I see a TikTok as well from Julie, moving to Twitter this year. Nice. Okay, so we have a wide range, more than I expected, I guess. So thank you all for participating in that. But before I go any further, I want to give you an outline of what my presentation is going to be about. First, I'm going to do a little introduction of what social media is, defining different platforms and showing the differences between them. And then also discussing social media platforms in the classroom, and then how to move that to be beneficial outside of the walls of your school. While we're on the topic, I do want to discuss personal social media use for specialists and just in general being a good citizen, digital citizen, and then what I wish I knew going into college, which kind of switches gears from social media, but I wanted to talk about it just because of where I am in my life, and then finish a conclusion. And hopefully we'll have enough time for a question and answer session. So please either put your questions in the chat and I can answer those all at the end, or you can do just a little share out at the end. Okay, so I really wanted to include an inspirational quote at the beginning, but this one is from Amy Jo Martin, who is an author and entrepreneur. And she said that social media is the ultimate equalizer. It gives a voice and a platform to anyone willing to engage. So I think that this is really important to keep in mind when considering introducing social media for your JAG programs, not only because it's a great way to communicate with your community and your students, but it's also a way that everyone can relate on the same platform and be on a level playing field, both inside and outside of your schools. So I really enjoyed this quote, and I thought that it was a good way to get started to my presentation. And like I said, I'm going to do an introduction. So starting with what is social media, and then which platforms would be most beneficial for you to use in the classroom, and doing a little bit of definitions for those platforms. So first, what is social media? I understand a lot of you already have personal or JAG social media accounts, so I might be repeating some information, but I did want to give a glimpse of what social media is in today's world. So the brief definition of social media platforms is that they are forms of electronic communication through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content. So in 2022, some top social media platforms are listed there: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And while just looking at these numbers, it might not seem like a lot, but 2.9 billion monthly users is equivalent to over 1/3 of the world's population is on social media every single month. And then even Twitter, which is only 436 million, it's still over, the population of the United States plus 100 million are on Twitter every single month. So I think that that really shows just the scope of social media and how it's just blown up across the world, and so many users are using that monthly. which again, to me, proves why it's valuable to introduce into your classrooms. Okay, so I kind of picked these 4 platforms because I think that they're most beneficial for educational use. Obviously, there are a lot of different platforms out there, but Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are what I think would be helpful for your JAG rooms. First, I wanted to start with Instagram, and that, again, you might already use Instagram, so I might be repeating information, but is entirely a visual platform with a main audience of 18 to 34-year-olds, while Twitter is a different text-based platform mainly because it's short characters, it's short and sweet, easy to use, but you can also add in pictures, videos, and images. And the main audience is 25 to 34-year-olds. Then we go to Facebook, which is the top social media used around the world, and that is really adaptable to whatever you want to post. So you can do really long text-based posts, or you can do visuals with images and videos with the main audience of 35 to 44-year-olds. And then finally, YouTube, which some people might not think of as a social media, but it definitely is entirely video-based, and the main audience is 15 to 35-year-olds. So now that I've gone through a little definition of what each platform is, I do want to go over what your students are using the most as teenagers. So this data was found in 2018 by Pew Research Center. And as you can see, teenagers are using YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and Twitter. And then they say that they use Instagram, YouTube, and Snapchat the most often. So I also want to include, because this data was in 2018 and that was before TikTok was invented, that new research says 69% of American teens are using TikTok monthly. So I think when you think about what social media you want to introduce into your classroom, it's important to think about what your students are using and what they would want to see and engage with. So as you can see, YouTube and Instagram are very popular. Facebook's pretty popular, as well as Twitter. Snapchat and TikTok are popular among the teenage population, but those aren't necessarily encouraged from us to use for your classroom. And then now I'm going to go into the effects of social media. As a person in Gen Z, and as you will probably be able to see throughout the rest of my presentation, I am a big proponent of social media. I have used it for probably 5 years, and all of the people in my life use it, but I do want to say that I know that there are positive and very negative effects. So positive effects that teenagers have attributed to social media is social connection, information, entertainment, and digital support. And again, this is from that 2018 Center study. While the negative effects include cyberbullying, comparison, lower mental health, poor body image, and then the lack of in-person contact. And I also want to emphasize that these effects can disproportionately affect certain demographics. So we probably all heard about the report that came out, I believe it was last year, that Facebook, which is now Meta as a company, was aware that Instagram was negatively targeting teenage girls and hurting their body image. So I do want to say that I know that social media has negative effects, and these are very real, but I do believe because of the value of social media and how many teenagers especially are on social media, that it would be beneficial to show your teenagers that you can use social media for good, and you can follow accounts that are positive and uplifting and can provide those positive effects like social connection, information, entertainment, etc. So now I'm going to talk about social media use in the classroom because we have a brief understanding of what each platform is. And then I want to talk about how this can apply to your JAG classes specifically. So according to a study done by the University of Washington, there are a few main benefits of social media in the classroom. The first is that there's an opportunity for extended learning. So you can share content on your pages that are beyond the prescribed curriculum that you would be limited to doing within your classroom during school hours. There's also an opportunity to promote students' work. So you can showcase their achievements and accomplishments, and then also promote upcoming events or do an event recap about, for example, State Career Development Conference. And that really allows you to shout out your students on a platform that will be available forever. And then there is the opportunity to learn about how to be a good digital citizen. And the brief definition of that is the ability to engage effectively, positively, and responsibly on online platforms. So not only will you be learning yourself how to be a good digital citizen, you'll also be showing your students an example of how to create a positive online presence and how they can do that for their own social media as well. And then this is more JAG specific and not necessarily included in the University of Washington research, but social media is a huge source of follow-up for specialists in that 1 year period. And if you're a new specialist and you're not using social media as a source of follow-up, then you should look into it, because I know that that's a big part of how our specialists currently follow up with their students. So I'll get more into the benefits of social media after graduation later on in my presentation, but these are the benefits in the classroom while your students are still in the JAG program. And also through my research, I found certain fears of educators of introducing social media into the classroom. So the main ones include that students won't be on task, and also that using social media will get in the way of your learning standards and what you're trying to do in the classroom. So for example, if your students are doing a PBL and you decide to take pictures of that, that could there's a fear there that the students will be off task and they won't be focused on of completing that PBL because they're distracted by you taking pictures and posting it on social media. But there are recommendations that experts give, which I'll go in the next slide, that you can use to avoid these challenges. So before implementing, experts recommend reviewing social media privacy settings and understand where information is going and who's going to be seeing that. Also providing clear expectations to your students, and again, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then being just transparent about your use of social media in the classroom. There's also, it's really important to provide an opt-out for students that don't want to be posted or don't feel that it's beneficial to their classroom experience. And then staying up to date on trends, platforms, different ways that students want to see what you're doing on social media, because it's an ever-changing world. And then in practice, just being responsive to your students' questions and protecting, again, their information and privacy, and following up on expectations if they are not meeting what you've previously set. Before I get into my next section, I'm going to be going through different JAG Indiana social media accounts. So I did research and found different ones that I think show a good job of how you can use social media in your classroom. But I do want to let you all know that each region has different policies. So please check with your managers to understand that how you should be using social media in your region. Let me get some water real quick. Okay. So moving forward, I want to start with Twitter, because like I said earlier, Twitter is a great way to do short and sweet posts if you're just getting into the social media world for your classrooms. And a great way to get started on Twitter is to follow JAG Indiana accounts, follow other JAG programs, follow JAG national community leaders, businesses. The great difference about Twitter compared to some other social media is that the majority of businesses are on Twitter. So if you're looking to engage with certain employers, your Twitter account is a great way to start. So this one is the Franklin County High School JAG program. And I really liked this because, it shows an appreciation and shout out for the students that the students can also then share on their own personal Twitter pages. And again, if this is your account, please put in the chat or let me know, because I do want to give you recognition for doing what I believe is a great job on social media. So they do, again, they shouted out their students and the specialists at the end of the year. And I think that that's a good way to make the students feel appreciated and connect with the students after the school year is over into the summer. And then here is a Facebook example, and Facebook is a little bit different because it's less of business oriented and it's more towards community leaders, individuals, families. So you'll probably have a lot of parents following your Facebook page. And so that's important because you can show off what their students are doing in your classrooms. So here I included Jo, who is a JAG coordinator, and she does a great job of posting different job opportunities for students and for graduates of the JAG program, which again allows learning beyond the classroom. And then the Avon High School JAG page does a great job of doing a lot of live streams. So for their career development conference award ceremony, they live streamed that so the community could see what was going on within the JAG classroom. And then they live streamed this guest presentation from a community leader, which also highlights that community leader and employer engagement opportunity. So Facebook is a great way to be really adaptable with your posts because you can do so many different things, but it is less focused on businesses and more on individuals. Instagram is also a great way to connect with your students specifically because so many teenagers are on Instagram. It allows for them to see themselves on the pages. So here is from Cloverdale and Shortridge, and I think that they do a great job of giving a snapshot of what's going on in the JAG classrooms. So for Cloverdale, you can see what their day looks like, while for Shortridge, you can kind of do the same thing. So it's really beneficial if you don't know what the JAG program is and you're just another student or an individual curious about it, you can look at these pages and see what's going on within the walls of the classroom. And again, a great way to get started on Instagram is to follow other JAG programs, follow JAG Indiana, any accounts that you think your students, you would get content from for your students. So I run the JAG Indiana Instagram this summer, and I follow accounts like Get Schooled and other Indianapolis and Indiana community leaders that I can repost and share with students. And then finally, here's a YouTube example. And YouTube was a little bit harder to get started with because making videos, I know for one, I'm not an expert in, but it's a good way to showcase different members of the community and really get a grasp of what's going on in the JAG classrooms beyond just a picture. Although a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is an even better picture. So I found the Brightpoint JAG YouTube, and they, for state CDC, went around to different high schools and gathered up students to wish the JAG students good luck. So I think that this does a great job of showing support and community support for JAG students. So I'm going to play this video. It's only about 20 seconds. Hopefully the audio works, but.
We can't hear anything, Colleen.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I'll just tell you what he said. He basically is just introducing himself. He's from Huntington High School and wishing the JAG students good luck. And then at the end of the video, the rest of the students say good luck. And they went around to every single high school in the region and gathered these videos and posted them. And so I think that this YouTube page is a great example of how you can easily take videos and show your JAG students support that they wouldn't have previously seen if not for social media. So, oh, there we go. So now that we've discussed a little bit about social media in the classroom, I do want to talk about how it's beneficial outside of the classroom after your students have graduated and gone through the JAG program, or outside of the classroom to expose your JAG program to other students in your schools. So the benefits of social media outside the classroom are it can really build JAG awareness, reputation, and capacity. And then it also allows you to stay connected with alumni well past follow-up and well past their graduation. So like I said, social media can really build JAG's reputation and awareness across the school. Because so many students are on social media, they can easily repost JAG things. Like, for example, if you posted something on Instagram, they can repost that to their stories, and then all of their followers will be able to see that and learn more about JAG. And we know that student-to-student communication and word of mouth is far more beneficial than just a teacher telling a student to join this program. And so that can really build the reputation, it can build awareness and kind of make students who aren't in the JAG program realize what's going on and how beneficial JAG actually can be, which also can help you increase your class size to fill that capacity that we talked about in our strategic plan earlier. And then also the JAG program can really help you support alumni after follow-up and after they've graduated, because these pages can help you stay connected to your specialists, not only, but also your former classmates and your former program in general. So for example, the Avon page can post alumni features of their Avon alumni that graduated 5 years ago, or they can post JAG in the news, which just helps build the JAG family and prove how valuable the JAG program is past graduation, because you're seeing the success stories online. And I really want to reiterate that social media can be accessed anywhere. So your students can graduate and they can move across the world and still be able to connect with your JAG program. And also 51% of American youth are using it daily. So they will see your posts and they will understand every single day that they log in what is going on in the JAG program that they have previously left. So your students will be able to engage with the program well past graduation if you provide a platform for support, appreciation, resources that would be beneficial to them after they graduate. So on that note, I do want to introduce something that we're all really excited about at the state, which is JAG Spark, a new Facebook alumni group. And this is for specialist students and alumni of JAG. And it allows for an opportunity to network, see career opportunities, and then connect to past graduates. So I'm going to put in the chat the URL, and then also if you guys are comfortable with the QR code, just please join the group now. I have to admit you into it, which I will do later today, but we are just rolling this out this summer, so we're very excited about it. And on the next slide, I'm going to go through what to expect in the group. And then also the QR code is there as well. One moment. Okay. So what to expect on JAG Spark? A lot of states and JAG programs are doing this. And so we're really excited and we've seen the benefits there and we're excited to implement it in Indiana. But you can expect networking opportunities, alumni shout outs, like alumni in the news, stuff like that. Career and educational postings. And then also we will be doing our own alumni testimonials and gathering some alumni stories. And like I said, this is just a really great opportunity for us to grow the JAG impact past graduation. And I know you might be wondering what is the difference between me posting an alumni news story on my Avon page versus the JAG Spark group. Well, there are three key differences between this. The first is that your JAG program would be public, or your JAG page would be public, while our JAG Spark, there is an administrator that has to let people in. And so we will only be letting in people that we know are specialists or have graduated from JAG Indiana programs. And we can verify that they are who they say they are. Also, if you have been on Facebook and if you're part of Facebook groups, you know that they're very interactive. Anyone can post and anyone can comment, ask questions, do polls. It's a lot of different features than just a regular Facebook post. And so that is way more interactive. That allows for an equal conversation playing field. And then the last example is that alumni content that you would post on your personal page would be more focused towards your program's alumni. But the career and alumni postings that we would do on JAG, or that anyone can do because it's so interactive, would be towards anyone in the state of Indiana. So Avon, again, I'm picking on them, but they could post a news feature about an Avon student, or they could post a job in the Avon area, but JAG Indiana could post something that would be beneficial for anyone in the state to see. So again, if you haven't joined the group, you can use the QR code or the link I sent in the chat, but we're really excited to roll this out, and we think it's going to be incredibly beneficial for not only our specialists and program in general, but our students who have graduated and are still needing a little bit of support even past high school. So while I'm talking about social media, I think it's really important to discuss personal social media use and how you can be the best digital citizen in general, and then what platforms would be beneficial for you as specialists, just in general, outside of the JAG program. So first is one of my favorite social media, surprisingly, and this is LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a social media platform used for professional networking, and it can help people find career opportunities, learn professional skills, get certifications, and then also connect with other professionals in your field, in your area, anything like that. So if you can see here, the demographics of LinkedIn really range from 15-year-olds to people who are about to retire. And that is incredibly important. And I think a difference of LinkedIn versus Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that, because it's just such an equal demographic and age. And so I think that you can use LinkedIn to connect professionally with so many different people, For example, I've connected with my high school classmates, and I've also connected with family friends that are 50, 60, 70 years old. And that allows for a professional online digital network that I can take anywhere with me to use to advance my career. And while you may not be trying to find a job on LinkedIn like people in college and high school are, you can get certifications and learn skills that can still advance your career and make you more knowledgeable in your field. And also, while I'm on the topic of LinkedIn, I do see a lot of my peers using LinkedIn to find jobs and internships. So I think it would be beneficial as specialists for you to know how to use it if your students come to you with a question, or if they ask, hey, should I download LinkedIn, or how do I create an account? Then you can provide some information for them based off your personal experience on it. And then I did want to include a personal social media use disclaimer. And this just is if someone who's employed by a state entity posts something on their personal social media about their job that is considered unique only to their page, and that content cannot be found anywhere else, then it opens up their personal post to public record. So the best advice that we can give you is if you're going to post about your job on social media personally, then just make sure that that content exists in the public world as well. And so just be mindful in general about any JAG content on your personal feeds. And I know if you have any questions about that, we can definitely answer that at the end, but I did want to include that in here before I continue. And again, while I'm discussing personal social media use, I do want to let you all know this new research that 70% of employers look at an applicant's personal social media profile as part of their screening process, and 54% have rejected applicants because of what they have found. And that's from a Harvard business review study. But while, again, you might not be looking for a new job and going through a screening process, it's important to keep in mind for your students, to let your students know that, and just in general, to show how important it is to be a good digital citizen, and really the value of focusing on building your social media to be a great representation of yourself. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit into what I wish I knew heading into college. And again, I kind of wanted to talk about this just because I am kind of going through similar life stages as your students are. I graduated high school during COVID, so it's been a little bit of a strange past few years, which I'm sure it's been for you as well. But I also just think that my perspective as being an incoming junior in college would be beneficial to share briefly. So these are just 3 topics that I thought would be important that you all knew, I wish I knew about, so that you could make sure your students are prepared in ways that I was not. So first is financial literacy. I know that JAG does a great job of discussing budgeting and different financial topics that normal high school classes like history or math won't do. But I do want to reiterate that a lot of students do not know anything about student loans, retirement, saving, investing, budgeting, any of that. And I was interested in this because I know that my peers don't know about it. But then when I did further research, I found out that the average score on the financial literacy test post high school is only a 63%. So everyone is basically getting Ds on their financial literacy test, which is very concerning when you realize how much financial independence you have after high school or after college, and you realize that you're kind of on your own in some aspects. And so I think just looking and making sure that your students are getting lessons on financial literacy and understand different aspects of it. And then also study resources. Again, I know that JAG is really focusing on those life skills, and study resources is one of them. But just making sure your students are aware of different technology that can help them study, like Quizlet, Chegg, other resources online that are specific to your institution, and then also taking the initiative to find those resources. So for example, in high school, if I had an issue with an essay I was writing, my English teacher would email me and be like, hi, I can help you with your essay. In college, I had to find the writing center. I had to go schedule an appointment. I had to do all of that and take the initiative myself because someone wasn't going to do it for me. So just making sure your students know that, and making sure they understand how important it is to be self-sufficient after graduation. And then another important part, which I think is a topic that we're all kind of thinking about, especially post-pandemic, is mental health. 12 to 50% of incoming college freshmen meet the criteria for one or more mental health disorders. So I think it's important to have discussions about mental health with your students, understand where to find resources on their own, because if they go to college, they will be kind of on their own for that. And I know that mental health is a hard topic to discuss, but I think it's really important, especially because of so many different factors impacting students' mental health, and social media being one of them, ironically. So just in conclusion, social media is a tool and it is not going anywhere. Unfortunately, there are negative effects, but millions of teenagers are logging on every single day. So I think that building JAG social media pages and connecting with your students, other specialists, the community, potential employer engagement sites, all of those people will be so beneficial for your students and your programs. So figuring out what works best for your program based on all the things that I talked about earlier, and then implementing that is going to really help your JAG programs. And just, I think you'll see a change from your students because they'll be more interactive outside the classroom. So on that note, do we have any questions? I'm going to stop sharing. Sorry, I just talked for a long time, but I wanted to get through it.
Colleen, I do have a question, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, so, I think I speak for a few of us who we have specific roles for our career association, and one of those is a social media officer. And so it's kind of, they're tasked with kind of running our pages. I experimented with it last year. I liked it. However, I want them to learn more like behind the scenes, like algorithm, when to post, those kinds of things. So do you have, I'm trying not to put you on the spot too much here, but do you have any sources or websites or even programs that you've looked into that have been successful for those kinds of things? Because I do kind of want to be a funnel for them who actually maybe want to go on to be a social media content creator, or professionally want to do that for a living.
I don't have any resources off the top of my head. I know that like word of mouth, I've heard like, oh, this is the best time to post for your personal accounts, but I can definitely like look into that and send you some if that works. Okay, I'll take note of that. Anything else?
I know for a while, Jordan, I don't know if I think it's still around, but we were using like Hootsuite to help us schedule the posts. That way someone wasn't physically having to, do it at, 7:30 or like whatever in the morning. That's the only thing I'm like super aware of. I would love, Colleen, if anybody from Region 3 wants to talk about their TikTok, because there is a Breakpoint TikTok now channel group. I don't know how that works, but
I was looking to see, I think it's just me and Justice that are Region 3 here, so I might be stuck with this one. I don't know a whole lot about it. In fact, my students, we made a TikTok video. So we did kind of we usually do a talent show for our JAG senior send-off that we have every summer. And so we always have people sign up, and then a lot of them kind of flake out because they're nervous with the crowd and everything. So it's understandable. So we decided to do a school by school TikTok challenge. And then we'll vote at the send-off as to who kind of created the best one. So I had to basically tell one of my students, like, here, this is what we're going to do, and you run the TikTok because I don't have an account and don't know how to use it. But ultimately, we all kind of made a TikTok video, and then Brightpoint JAG has the TikTok channel, whatever, that I believe they posted everything to. So we all kind of shared it with our coordinator there, and she posted it. So kind of a cool concept. One of my questions was actually going to be like, what specifically are your thoughts on TikTok as a social media for communication? Because my understanding of TikTok is it's more that it's the YouTube, it's the video platform. And if I'm not recording videos, then is there any use for those two, like YouTube, TikTok platforms? So I know I didn't really give too much clarity on what our TikTok thing was, but I know my school specifically, ours was probably the longest. We did like one of the 2-minute TikToks. So I think people lose interest, but it was I'm passing the phone to, and so we try to use a variety of, and everybody passed the phone to somebody else in the class, and it's somebody who's already a CNA certified, somebody who's, graduating early, somebody who's a valedictorian, a, multi-sport athlete. So we just tried to try and show the diversity within the classroom, what kind of students we can get. So it's promotional. But anyways, to my question.
Yeah, I did not really go into TikTok because I was told it's like discouraged at the state level, but I'm not the expert on that. But anyway, I do think I'm a big fan of TikTok. I spend a lot of time, unfortunately, on TikTok. I'm not a creator necessarily, but I do know that if you do it well, then you can really like reach a large following on TikTok because of the algorithm and because it'll just show up on someone's like For You page based off of their location or hashtags or something like that. So I think that TikTok, I actually saw that video about like pass the phone too, and I really enjoyed that because I thought that it was really like up with the trend at the time. Another thing about TikTok is there's so many different trends. So it's important if you do that to stay up to date on those trends. And that can be hard because it's constantly changing probably every single week. So I think that TikTok can be really fun, especially for students because so many students are on it all the time. But it's a hard thing to master, I think, because it's so time consuming, and also just video creation in general is difficult. Like I find it difficult, so that's why I don't create them. But if you have someone who really, like a student who really enjoys doing it, then that might be beneficial. I mean, I think that would be a good way to interact with students.
Yeah, and Phil, I mean, like all the social media, if you use it for good, right? I mean, there are certainly ways to like for TikTok to go wrong, but there are also ways for, I mean, as Colleen said, for TikTok to be a useful tool for us getting some more visibility. But it's a question of how do you link it to what's current so it does get seen. I think in early, maybe it was that 2020 spring. I mean, JAG National partnered with I think it was like T-Mobile or something to do a TikTok challenge with like Kesha and a bunch of other like, people, whatever. And so like, I mean, there are certainly ways that it can be used. And that one I think was really like for scholarships for kids or something. But it's just a question of, like, how do you use it? But then also like, at least in my humble opinion, like TikTok takes forever. Like that is a full-time job in my like to make some of that content. So unless you're going to assign a kid or something like Jordan suggested from one of your social media, career association kids or something, like you could waste all day trying to come up with that stuff on your own. Monica, I saw you put something in the chat. You're having trouble unmuting.
She says, how do we revisit allowing us to use TikToks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I talked to Crystal in your region. I mean, she's welcome to reach out to me on that. Again, I think as long as you have like just some policies and procedures on how to use it for good, we're okay with it. I think also like similarly a million years ago when Snapchat first came out, we were like, absolutely not. There's all kinds of weird stuff like to Snapchat, but I think they've created a lot of additional like, not restrictions, but like, I mean, different things behind the scenes that allow it to not, I mean, I'm not suggesting go use Snapchat, but not saying you couldn't unless you have some policies and procedures for that. So yeah, I think to Phil's point, it could be a great tool on TikTok for the commercial, right? For our JAG CDC stuff.
Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah, and if I could add too, we used TikTok as a public product for one of our PBLs this year. And the trouble that we had is you have to play a sound behind every TikTok video. And so it's actually difficult to find sounds that kind of relate to education and seem more professional. So that is something you're going to have to think about if you choose to use TikTok for some sort of public product. It's going to seemingly be contradictory until you find something that works, or you're going to have to make a video that matches a trend and try to somehow talk about your subject. So for us, we it was about the hiring process. And so some of them are really silly and some of them are really, funny, but you can't really truly be totally formal on TikTok. So just be conscientious of that, I guess, would be my input there.
Yeah, going to that point, a lot of the trends are not necessarily appropriate, even though your students might want to do that. So again, just being conscientious of that. And they're always changing. So that's also kind of hard.
I mean, I know I like to watch the like home reno ones, right? Where it's like the small snippets of home renovations, but they do always have like silly music. So how that becomes something for JAG, interview processes or dress for success PBLs or something, like, I don't know. That's for someone much younger and cooler. Oh, great. Follow Teachers of TikTok for inspiration. Thanks, Jordan.
Do you have any other questions or anything?
Awesome. Well, like we said in the first session, if you guys, think of other things and you want to reach out